Joan Baez as a singer, a player, and a protester.
Will you give us your opinion, if you care to, concerning Joan Baez as a singer, a player, and a protester?
When anybody asks me this kind of question, and it comes up often, I really have to answer that I think of other musicians on two completely different levels. One is as a listener, and the other is as a performer. As a performing artist, I have very, very narrow prejudiced standards. I wouldn't really be much of an artist if I didn't. As a listener, I'm very broad-minded. So to answer your question, I'd give you two such different answers that would be almost meaningless.
Further question here. Question up here. Yes? Do you think that draft card burning can be justified?
Never tried it myself yet, so I don't know.
Who had a song you wanted? Lisa what? Give me the name.
I know the song.
This young lady has asked that a certain song be sung. I thought the time appropriate.
The song Lisa Calvillage, which was requested by the young lady down there, I made up about a year and a half ago about a true person, true event. It's not the world's greatest song, but I had an interesting experience of singing it in Berlin last January. Lisa Calvillage is a German-American housewife in California. I was singing in both West Berlin and East Berlin in January, and this song took on very special meanings for my audiences there. We'll see what meanings you get out of it. Well, I should say that Lisa Calvillage and three friends put on their best clothes, high heels, nylons, white gloves, and went down to a place where napalm bombs were being loaded. Later on, a newspaper reporter at the jail asked her why, and she gave them this answer. My name is Lisa Calvillage. I was born in Nuremberg, and when the trials were held there 19 years ago, it seemed to me ridiculous to hold a nation all to blame for the horrors which the world did undergo. A short while later, I applied to be a GI bride, and an American consular official questioned me. He refused my exit permit, said my answers did not show I'd learned my lesson about responsibility. Thus suddenly I was forced to start thinking on this theme, and when later I was permitted to emigrate, I must have been asked 100 times where I was and what I did in those years when Hitler ruled our state. I said I was a child, or at most a teenager, but this always extended the questioning. They'd ask, where were my parents, my father, my mother, and to this I could answer not a thing. The seed planted there at Nuremberg in 1947 started to sprout and to grow. Gradually I understood what that verdict meant to me, when there are crimes that I can see and I can know. And now I also know what it is to be charged with mass guilt. Once in a lifetime is enough for me. No, I could not take it for a second time, and that is why I am here today. The events of May 25th, the day of our protest, put a small balance weight on the other side. Hopefully someday my contribution to peace will help just a bit to turn the tide. And perhaps I can tell my children 6 and later on their own children that at least in the future they need not be silent when they are asked, "Where was your mother when?"
What is it?
As a chronicler of our time, would you comment on what you think the greatest crime today is?
What do you think the greatest crime today is?
The greatest crime today is that with the greatest mediums of communication the world has ever known, they are not being used to increase the understanding of the human race to each other's troubles.
Further question up here? Down here. Yes, come on.
I'd like to request a song that I did at Newport in '66. It's If You Love Your Uncle Sam, Bring Me Home.
This gentleman would like to request the song he heard in Newport in 1966, "If You Love Your Uncle Sam, Bring Them Home."
Poor old Uncle Sam's been called many names in many parts of the world. But I myself, coming from a long line of Yankees, feel sympathy for him. And I love the good things that our country has done, the wonderful things that our country has done. And when I see our flag dirtied, I don't feel like burning our flag, I feel like washing it. So it was that I made up a song. I won't sing it all the way through here, a rabble-rousing song. But I sang it at Newport for 10,000, 15,000 people, and they really sang along with me. It's, if you love your Uncle Sam, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Support our boys in Vietnam, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. And it went on like that for about 16 verses.
Further question? Yes, come on.
Most of the Union songs of the 1880s, 1920s, 30s, the Union seems so just, it seems to me the Unions are more of a reactionary force today. You know any songs that come down the line of the Union today?
Yes. This gentleman suggests that many of the Union songs in the late 1800s and up to the 1930s tended to deal with social justice, but the unions themselves have not been too successful, some of them, in advocating social justice. Are there any songs to this effect?
Phil Oakes, a few years ago, wrote a song specifically directed at this problem. Come, you men of labor, and listen to my song. And he tells how there were songs when they fought for the 8-hour day, when they fought against child labor, when they fought for the right to strike. And where were they now? They were sitting at home when Negro people were fighting for their rights as human beings. I think any historian can tell you there's a tendency of people's organizations to start off being quite enthusiastic, idealistic, and radical, and they get more conservative and complacent and as they grow older. The Grange today, for example, is a fine farmers' organization, but it's a far cry from the radical organization it was in the 1880s. And the same way with the AFL-CIO. There are parts of it that are still organizing, like the grape strikers of Delano, California, but I think this is the exception that proves the rule.
Further question? Yes?
Would Mr. Seeger explain some of the meaning and perhaps play the song Bells of Rimini? Bells of Rimini.
Will you explain as well as play the song The Bells of Rimini?
This song is a good example of what I meant when I said a song has many layers of meaning. I think they can have layers on the surface and layers underneath. This same thing, though, could be said of any good song. Hard Rain Is Gonna Fall. I feel the same way about that song as I do about The Bells of Rimini. The words of The Bells of Rimini were written by a young Welsh coal miner named Idris Davies, right after what he called the angry summer of 1926. There was a general strike in Britain, which was lost, and he determined to leave coal mining. He studied for 4 years, went to school, became a school teacher. But this poem he wrote will stand for many years, I believe, because it referred, while he wrote it up in the heat of his agony of 1926 and the general strike, it has many layers of meaning. Oh, what will you give me? Sang the sad bells of Rimini. Is there hope for the future? Say the brown bells of Mather. Who made the mine owners? Say the black bells of Rhondda. And who robbed the miner? Say the grim bells of Blaina. They will plunder willy-nilly, say the bells of Kithilly. They have fangs, they have teeth, shout the loud bells of Neath. Even God is uneasy, say the moist bells of Swansea. And what will you give me? Sang the sad bells of Rimini. Throw the vandals in court, say the bells of Newport. All would be well if, say the green bells of Cardiff. Why so worried, sisters, why? Sang the silver bells of Wye. Oh, what will you give me? Sang the sad bells of Rimini. You give me, sang the sad bells of Rimini. Is there hope for the future? Say the sad bells of Mather. Is there who robbed the miner? Say the grim bells of Liner. Throw the vandals in court, say the bells of Newport. All will be well if, say the green bells of Clarendon. Why so worried, sisters, why sang the silver bells of light? Oh, what would you give me? Sang the sad bells of Grimsby.
Is there a question on the platform? Yes? What does your banjo say?
Woody used to have on his guitar, "This machine kills fascists." He had that sign on it all through 1941, 1946, 7, 9. But I had a slightly different slogan I wrote. "This machine surrounds hate and forces it to surrender."
Yes?
Woody Guthrie recently died in New York. Would you comment on your regard for the man and his contribution to our civilization?
Will you comment upon Woody Guthrie and his contribution to our civilization and to his art and the man?
I think Woody Guthrie in future centuries will be regarded throughout the world as a great national folk poet, much as we think of Robert Burns of Scotland or Taras Shevchenko of the Ukraine. Like him, they also were born in obscurity, knew poverty, but had a burning curiosity to learn. Their talent brought them to the attention of the big city, but they also refused to knuckle under to the comfortable way of life and remained profane and radical to the end. Woody was a radical. He believed that Jesus was the greatest revolutionist and that his message had been watered down. And he liked the idea of Robin Hood and Jesse James and all the other outlaws. He said they had the right idea, but quite not exactly the right method. He wanted to take money from the rich and give it to the poor. And I don't think I need to talk much too more about him, except maybe sing you a little fragment of one of his lesser-known songs. Why do these warships sail on my ocean? Why do these bombs drop down from my sky? Why do you burn my towns and my cities? I want to know why, yes, I want to know why. I want to know, friends, I want to know. Hungry lips ask me wherever I go. Comrades and friends are falling around me. I want to know, yes, I want to know. I wonder if I could seize the initiative for a half a second, because we only have about 5 or 6 minutes more, and teach you a song. I told you that I felt the biggest crime in the world was the failure of communication when we have such tremendous mediums of communication like TV, and it's being used for trivialities. I say TV is part of the bread and circuses syndrome. I wasn't able to blast through it. Maybe others will be able to. But I'll teach you a song, and maybe you can get just a little glimmer of how desperate the people of the world feel that don't have money for the clothing that you and I are able to afford tonight, who don't have a full belly, who don't have the chances for an education. This is an Afro-American song I learned when visiting a prison in Texas a few years back. And a young man stepped up to the microphone. We had a tape recorder. He said, "Well, gentlemen, this is Andrew B. Crane serving a lifetime sentence on Retrieve State Farm. And this is a song I sing with the boys when I get worried." He raised back with his head and sang, "Won't you go down, oh Hannah? Well, 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 don't you rise no more. Don't you rise no more. Won't you go down, oh Hannah? Don't you rise no more." Oh, Hannah's their nickname for the sun. And they don't want this sun to rise in the morning unless it brings the end of the world. Now the whole gang came in and said, "Well, well, well, see if you can get it with me." Well, I looked at old Hannah. Well, 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 she was turning red. She was turning. Well, I looked at old Hannah. She was turning red. You got the idea. Don't hold back. Come in on that. Well, I looked at my partner. Well, 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 he was almost dead. He was almost. Well, I looked at my partner. He was almost dead. Well, I said, "Wake up, old dead man. Well, well, help me carry my robe. Help me carry my..." I said, "Wake up, old dead man. Help me carry my robe." Now, some of you are singing pretty good, but the others sitting back, just listening. After all, you got a comfortable bed to go home to. Just for once, see if you can imagine that you are this man. Well, he said you ought to have been in this prison. Well, well, 19 and 10, 19 and 10. You ought to have been in this old prison. 19 and 10. They was driving the women, well, well, like they do the men. wasn't a song, it was an opera, an epic. You ought to have been in this prison 1904. You can find a dead man on every road. Says, if you get lucky, make it back home. Go down by Julie's, tell her I won't be alone. Says, I was a good man, but they drove me down. And one verse I'll never forget says, seems like everything I do, seems like everything I do is wrong. Well, seems like everything, well, everything I do, well, it seems like most everything I do is wrong. Judge Lurie, I'll turn things over to you. It's about 10 o'clock.